I would like to introduce our guest. Abby Havlicek is the local president of
I'm the organizer for
Pima County Save Our Schools. So she's going to be talking about all the stuff and the dirty pools that are going on with Tom Horn and the other Republicans. Please give us a warm welcome, Dave.
Thank you. What a great crowd. I am so thankful to be here to talk to you about the state of public education here in Arizona. So my name is Abby Havlicek, and I am a mom of 3 kids that attend a very lovely neighborhood public school, and I could not be happier with it. I'm also a former school board candidate. I ran in 2022 for Marana Unified, and while I didn't make it, Save Our Schools scooped me up. And I really believe in their mission. They just want fully funded public schools with quality educators in every classroom, all across Arizona. So, how many here is a product of public school? Love that, okay.
Hello.
How many of you are teachers, or retired teachers, or janitors, or have worked in some capacity? Can we give them a round of applause because you guys are amazing. Because goodness knows I could not do that job. So, Save Our School, how many of you have heard of Save Our Schools? Lots of you. So we are a nonpartisan grassroots organization, and we originated in 2018 when we referred a bill, a universal voucher bill, back in 2018 to the ballot. And Pima County nearly denied it a 2-to-1. So that's wonderful. Need well-resourced classrooms and quality educators. So the reason why Save Our Schools is around is, I've already said it, well-resourced classroom with, in every neighborhood. You know, public schools offer, community services. Lots of kids depend on their food. We are the only type of school that provides transportation and different kind of wraparound services like occupational therapy and different therapies. We are often the central hub for community events. You know, Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts hold their meetings there, as well as local churches. Some schools have arts, some schools have sports. Also contribute to having great property values. If you have a school in the area, that will reduce overall less crime. And dollar for dollar, if you invest in public schools, dollar for dollar is the best investment that you can do, because once these kids leave high school, they will be contributing members of the workforce. To the Pima County Action Summit, we have already been down in Yuma. We have been in Cochise County. We have been in Navajo Nation. And just last week, we were in Maricopa. So on June 8th, we will be kicking off the Pima County Action Summit. And this is a place that you can come and get a really solid understanding of the different issues. We'll maybe review the ballot, because we know it's going to be an incredibly long ballot. So perhaps taking the time and really understanding that. We'll also maybe have a track for people that really want to up their volunteer skills, like how can they get involved with their community. So Arizona families unanimously choose public schools. So when we're looking at districts for 72% and charter 20%, when you add them together, that's 92%. And that is because when we lump them together, it's because they are funded from the same general fund. We have private school, 5%, and that is a little sketchy because we don't really know how many kids go to private schools. They don't need to report. And we have 3% homeschool. That number may fluctuate as well because they don't necessarily need to report that they are being homeschooled. We are 49th in the nation for per pupil funding. We are significantly behind the national average, 5.5 billion behind the United States average. buckets. So the first bucket is your local property tax, which is pretty much guaranteed to your public school. Also, PTO funds also goes into that bucket as well. Then the next bucket is your general fund. So this comes from the state. So this is income tax and your sales tax. And then we have federal. We are referencing here the state and local dollars. Does the money really matter? Absolutely. So we are seeing class sizes up to 40 kids in a classroom. And how can a teacher provide quality education to 40 kids? Unfortunately, Arizona's teacher salaries rank in the bottom 5%. Also doing while teaching the next wave of the generation, they are door dashing, they are, working multiple jobs. They are tutoring on top of all of this. And for their level of education, which most of them have a master, this shouldn't be an issue. We have a teacher retention crisis. We don't have a problem with enough qualified teachers in Arizona. What we have a problem with is teachers willing to put up with the political climate, the lack of, appropriate salary for their expertise. Our student to counselor ratio is the second worst in the U.S. While Superintendent Kathy Hoffman was in office, she did put significant funds to reducing, I think it was something from like 600 students to one kid down to 420 kids to one counselor. And now we have school facilities. A lot of these schools are aging and there is significant maintenance that needs to go into these schools to get them up to. We have issues, and I'm sure across the board here in Arizona, we have a monsoon and then the air conditioner kicks out and now you are in a classroom of 40 kids that don't really wear deodorant. That doesn't sound like a good time to me at all. Next slide, too. So we are facing a massive $835 million budget this year in 2024 and $879 million budget shortfall next year. And this is due to former Governor Ducey and his flat tax. So he cut it, the flat income tax, by 2% across the board. So we are now seeing less income tax come in, and with the ESA program just off the rails, where is this money coming from? It's going to come in the form of cuts to other services. Our per capita budget is also really low. Our legislature does not prioritize Arizona and the services that we should receive, unfortunately. So who here knows what ESA vouchers are? Okay, some of you do. Good. Thank you for being on the ball. So this stands for Empowerment Scholarship Accounts, and they are vouchers that are public taxpayer dollars issued by the Arizona Department of Education that is run by Superintendent Tom Horn. So parents can get a debit card with, or maybe a private account with cash loaded to it. So on the low end, parents can get $7,500, or if you have a child that has significant disabilities, it can be over $40,000 that they can get loaded. So it cannot be used for public schools. It cannot be used for charter schools. It can only be used for private schools and micro schools and homeschools. Micro schools are like homeschool co-ops. One that really comes to mind is an organization called Prenda, and they operate under a micro school model. So this also can be rolled over year to year, and it can be used for going to community and university college. So this is a great image from David Fitzsimmons, who, if you don't know who he is an amazing, quirky, lovely cartoonist. But he did this, and this what it really shows is the agenda is to starve our public schools. Just keep picking at them. So what do they fund? They say that ESA vouchers are funding academic type of things to be purchased. But these vouchers are paying for private school expenses like tuition and uniforms and different club fees. They are also, air quotes over here, educational expenses. So some of the things that we have seen in the past is a bouncy house, an espresso machine. Now, how in the world would you classify this as an educational expense? Because most likely that parent went on to ChatGPT and asked, hey, can I have a coffee curriculum from Starbucks? That is all that they need to submit to get this to get reimbursed for this espresso machine. We've seen snow cone machines, pelotons, chicken coops, and different like bounce house memberships. But I want to point out over here a dog dryer has been on the list of things to be approved. We've also seen baby grand piano being approved. We have seen the thing where you have all these golf clubs in. I know that it's not a kid. I don't play golf, so unless it's miniature golf, but I don't play golf. But you know what I'm talking about. Well, that was like a $3,000 expense. They also pay for private lessons, so you know, you do swimming and tennis and gymnastics, karate, music, cooking, horseback riding, going to see whale watching in a different state. We have, you know, a yoga teacher in New Jersey that is getting paid with ESA voucher funds for teaching kiddos here. Meanwhile, my son back here, who goes to a public school, doesn't have access to any of this stuff. It's definitely the have and the have-nots. Oh, also curriculum. So a lot of the curriculums that we have seen being purchased is like the Abeka and the Bob Jones University. So these are very much the white Christian nationalist curriculum that we have seen. They contain, you know, our former President Trump's version of history around like 1776. And we all know that doesn't fly, right? We have seen ESA, the Universal Voucher Program, show up in the news an awful lot. We have made a very concerted effort to get out about how awful of a financial policy this voucher program is. It is completely off the rails. It is unbudgeted. There are no accountability. There is no transparency. There is no safety metrics in place to protect our kids. You know, and we are also seeing lots of letters to the editor come out and, you know, keep it pumping. The more that we get the information out about what is being said, how poor this program is, and how it's devastating to Arizona. Rising ESA voucher costs. So this program just didn't pop up in 2022. This has been the long game of the Republicans. So in 2012, way down over here, it was introduced as a program to provide alternative ways for a very sensitive population, and that was kids with disabilities. When you have a kid with autism who gets really overwhelmed easily, a public school most likely is not in the best interest of that kid. Giving a kid a safe space at home would be the best option. So we absolutely support, as an organization, and myself included, using ESA vouchers for those kids, especially with autism. Then they expanded it in 2013. Oh, kids with disabilities and their siblings. And then, you know, kids on tribal lands, or also kids that have a military parent. that is currently serving, or kids that have a parent that in the military that has passed away. See, those categories kept getting expanded and expanded. Then in 2018, the legislation attempted to pass its first form of universal vouchers. And that got kicked to the court saying, it's not legal. And the reason why is because they were passing our taxpayer dollars directly to private schools. So in 2022, when the universal voucher program was expanded, they circumvented that, saying, we'll give it to the parents. There's nothing in the law that says that's illegal. So this was originally budgeted at $30 million. And that was dependent on the current enrollment numbers for kids in public schools. It did not include kids that went to private schools. It did not include, kids currently being homeschooled, or, a projected forecast of those kids that will be homeschooled. They're really bad at math. So it went from 30 million, and now we are looking at hitting over $1 billion of an unbudgeted program. There is no other program on that budget that is completely unbudgeted, off the rail, has no nothing in place to curb it at all. There's no income limits. So we are seeing, people from like Scottsdale who have been long sending their children to a private school take this coupon for the wealthy, basically, and just use it. Meanwhile, we have kids in more rural parts of Arizona that are looking to lose teachers and lose money to support that school. And that is frustrating.
Andy?
Yes.
Of the approximately 5% of the students in theory are the ones that could benefit from this, do you have any feel for what percent of them do?
For a private school?
Right.
So we don't track that data.
Just like nothing
so
else.
We just know, like, based on what Arizona Department of Education reports. They do a quarterly financial report. So just based on those data, I think we have seen at least 73,000 students take advantage of this program. They did not leave public school. They are a brand new cost to all of this. This is what $30 million is completely not. Obviously, we went from 30 million to over $1 billion. So this is a different chart, and this comes from the Arizona Joint Legislative Budget Committee. So we can see the JLBC estimated 33 million, and then we bumped up to 550 million. That was the actual cost for 2023. And now the JLBC is estimating 65 million, and we're fast approaching 950 million. So what's the impact? 75% of the universal ESA applications were already in private schools or being homeschooled. And again, they are an entirely new cost. So they were never in a projected estimate at all. So they are just coming in, or they're getting new application, and it's just a new cost. And we don't have anything to curb it. So a lot of it is going to more affluent families and higher income zip codes. So Scottsdale is one, Paradise Valley is another. There's a zip code in Tucson that is also showing a high number of ESA applicants. But we have private schools. We have Push Ridge. We have another private school. In general, those people were already paying for Push Ridge. And they were already paying for CASAs. So also non-state aid students are also an entirely new cost to the state. Because let's just say, they have been sending their kids to a private school or being homeschooled, and then all of a sudden they realize, oh, my kid may have a disability. that would change the amount that I would get on an annual basis from maybe $7,500 to upward to over $40,000. So what we are seeing is even those kids that are going to private school, they need an IEP to prove that they have a diagnosis. So they will go to your neighborhood public school to get evaluated and get an IEP or a 504, so they can get those additional dollars. This is not benefiting all kids. This is creating a system of have and have-nots. So we have the affluent wealthy who is taking a coupon for the rich, and we have other kids that can't benefit from all of these things that we have been seeing being purchased. So the 50% of the ESA funding is going to 10% of the districts. So it's a majority of the suburban areas. It's not benefiting any of the rural areas of Arizona at all. So, and what they're really doing is they're defunding the most vulnerable kids. I mean, these are kids that depend on getting food on a daily basis. You can't teach a kid unless they are fed. And a lot of these schools provide breakfast and lunch for these kids. And some schools go above and beyond by sending home snack backpacks. You wouldn't see that from a private school. This is not the parent's choice. It's really the school's choice. So private schools get to choose their students. They are not, they can turn away a child that has a disability or a diagnosis. They can also turn away children that are LGBTQ or as well as trans kids. There's discrimination and segregation happening. And in one specific situation that happened towards the end of 2023, while this is a catch-22, right? So in Phoenix, a LGBTQ group opened up a school that was funded by ESA vouchers. And I was like, wow, that's really wonderful. All these kids can have a really safe place. Segregation. But it was taking money from the ESA vouchers, and most likely those kids never had any legal protection by taking the ESA vouchers. They would have been far better off creating their own charter school, while they would have had like Title IX support as well. But this is what we're seeing. They don't tell you this, but you know, when you take ESA money, you're turning over your parental rights. So as a part of the ESA program, you can apply to become a vendor. And the vendors are not background checked. They don't have fingerprint clearance. You don't know who they are and what they've done. Nothing. It's all on parents to do their due diligence about the people that are really interacting with. There was a specific case where there was a vendor who is still on the approved list as of today, where he is accused of assaulting a 15-year-old girl in a karate class. This is not okay at all. There should be some kind of metrics to really protect our kids. So this is a very lovely chart that shows we don't have anything in place. So there is no accreditation or state approval for these schools, or if you want to homeschool. There are no curriculum standards for private schools or homeschooling. You do not need to be a certified teacher to teach in a charter school or a private school or even to homeschool your kid. Again, no background and safety checks. We do not require state testing or any testing at all to really know if these kids are being taught anything at all. And you question it when you have a curriculum like from Starbucks for an espresso machine. What kind of skills, life skills, are really being taught? So we have, I'm going to put this over here. So it's really a grift. So we see people that are opening up private schools and strip malls. This is mostly in Phoenix, but it would not surprise me. So they open up these little strip malls and they get all these kids in to create a class. And then they leave Friday and parents go to drop their kids off on Monday, find out the school has closed, and they've already taken all the money and have taken off. This has happened. So we have now seen several charters start opening up private schools. So they really prefer the business model of getting $7,500 per kid. So we have seen Great Hearts, who is a charter school up in Phoenix, open up Great Hearts Private School, or Great Hearts Christian Academy. And now, to the surprise of no one in this room here, so if parents were already paying a $13,000 a year tuition and they got a $7,000 coupon, well, we have seen private schools raise the tuition so they can get even more money. It's all about money. Our kids are walking dollar signs. So what is next? So we're seeing public schools being closed. We are seeing a lot of school districts flip to a 4-day school week. We will be seeing teacher layoffs. Paradise Valley just recently made the heartbreaking decision to close a school, and I don't envy those governing board members to make that decision, because you are significantly impacting an entire community with closing their schools. We are seeing already, our teachers and our staff are like working on a bare bone budget, and we're going to see that even being reduced. Our class sizes are going to get higher. We're going to see bus routes potentially either completely eliminated or very sporadic. And we're seeing that on Navajo Nation. And we will also most likely see public school programs like our sports be completely defunded, or our STEM programs, which in this day and age, our kids absolutely need that. So if you want to take your little phone, I can come back to this if that would be better. You can read this report. It's a really good report. I'll send it to George to send out as well. So we are looking for solutions, and it's not, we would like to curtail and completely roll back to really serving those sensitive population of kids. But that's not what we're looking, and I don't think it's realistic for us to be able to do that. So we are asking to have some child safety. We want background checks. We want our fingerprints for these vendors that are interacting with our kids. We want rights for students with disabilities, because private schools, they don't need to adhere to an IEP or a 504. They can just completely say, we're not going to accept you in the school. So right now, that's not happening. We want accountability for our taxpayer dollars. On the other side of things, we are hearing these parents that do take ESA voucher money saying, oh, there is plenty of accountability. I have to upload every single reimbursement and provide a receipt. And then I just need to provide a curriculum that has been, just generated from ChatGPT. Unfortunately, that is them just showing, hey, I'm trying to teach my kid, but does it actually translate to anything real world and how they can contribute to the workforce? We would like to see private schools, stop their tuition hiking. We want to see educational standards higher. We want transparency from the Arizona Department of Education. We want them to really state up front, what are you losing as a parent and a student if you take this ESA voucher money? We would like to reinstate the 100-day requirements. So what this does in a public school, and we see this in a charter school a lot, So at 100 days, that is when the funds are dispersed for a public school and a charter school. And after that 100 days, you will see a high number of kiddos that are basically kicked out of charter schools and re-entering those public schools. But guess what? That money has already been allocated to the charter school. So now we, as a public school, have to take those kids back for very nothing. This is a great little chart here that says Arizona families, they want our schools to be better funded. 55% say our schools really need funding, but only 18% say our schools do not need it. And what I find is people have this grand impression that a lot of the money is going towards administration, and that is not actually correct. If you look, maybe 1% accounts for all the administration. Everything else accounts for, keeping the schools up, keeping the lights out, keeping our teachers paid, providing all the materials, and et cetera, et cetera. So now, a majority of the Arizona voters, from a poll that was done in November 2023 from Stand With Children, 60% oppose the universal voucher program. 48% strongly oppose. Okay, so yeah, I just had to read it again. So 30% of Arizonans that were polled here, they support the program, with only 18% strongly supporting it. And that's it. So you can see how Arizona does not want this program. They rejected it in 2018, and against the will of the voters, it came plowing back in 2022. So what do we do about it? So my little assistant passed around a clipboard that I hope you signed up, so you can join your community action team. So I'm an organizer, so when I ran my campaign, I knocked on over 3,000 doors, and it restored my faith in the human race. People are out there that believe our kids deserve better. If we don't make a change now, they will never forgive us. So you can join my team, and that's the way that you do it. You just sign up, just put your email and your name, and tell me how to contact you. And if you want to volunteer, I'd love that even better. If you need a canvas organized down here, and you want to talk to some pro-public education neighbors, I can help you out with that too. I think everyone here is kind of, really paying attention to what's going on. I would even pay attention to the Arizona Department of Education. Really pay attention to what he puts out. He is definitely made it, I'm sorry, I hate to tell you to pay attention to him, but he's not hiding anything, unfortunately, and he is definitely hinging on the far right, and it impacts our kids. Organize, show up at the schools and see if you can register those kids that are coming out of high school. Get them registered. Support public education officials and candidates. We are looking at LD 17 as it's a very competitive district, and we have the Freedom Team over there, so that unfortunately is Justine Watzak and Rachel Jones and Corey McGar. None of those folks are for public education. None of them have kids in public education. Most of them are either homeschooled or they have private school. But they are making decisions up at the Capitol that are impacting those kids that are currently in public schools. So I'm gonna plug in. We have weekly, what seems to be like weekly phone banks. So if you just wanna hop on, and I will send out an email on the weekend, typically Saturday evening, if I have all my stuff together, but mostly Sunday. Sign up and join a phone bank with us, and talk to some people, encourage them to come out to one of our events, like the Pima County Action Summit. So we also have like a one-click email tool. That's also in my email. If you want to shoot your legislatures a quick email and Tell them how you really feel, like really, really feel. We make it super easy for you. And how many of you have a request to speak account? Oh, we gotta get you. Georgie.
More green, more green.
All right. We're gonna work together on that. All right. Okay. So request to speak is not actually, you don't have to go into the Capitol to speak. It is you hiding behind your monitor in your jammies on a Sunday morning with a cup of coffee, clicking buttons saying, hey, I support this bill or I do not support this bill. And you can do 250 characters of an opinion. And what this does is this goes on the Arizona legislature's website. So our lawmakers look at it. I don't know what Republicans do, but our Democratic lawmakers definitely do. And our governor pays attention to those. You don't want to give it to chance just because we have a Democratic governor, just by chance that she's going to veto the right or the wrong bill. You want to put your opinion about it. So we're gonna aim for 100%.
There you go. We'll work on that one.
Okay. So I am open for questions. So, I think George is going to moderate, or. So Prop 123 is the land trust, and that funds. So it needs to be renewed every 10 years. So Katie Hobbs has submitted her proposal, and I can't recall exactly what was in there, but it definitely addressed teachers' salaries, money for safety and maintenance of our schools, a lot of the things that we want to see to benefit our schools. That proposal is dead. It has never been heard in committee at all. So now we have the Republican version of it, and so the House and the Senate Republicans are kind of arguing over this. So we have, I think it's J.D. Mesnard. So Senate, he wants to keep the percentage at 6.9, but David Livingston in the House wants to drop it to 5.5 for the payout. So now we have 3 proposals for Prop 123. One is dead, and there isn't very much movement on those at all. And we're nearing, budget talks, so I have no idea what it's going to look like until negotiations really start back up.
So this is a proposition that's going to be possibly on the 2024 ballot?
Yes.
And then it might affect school year 2025 to 2026? Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, so now the Republicans are arguing over which proposal.
Okay, thank you.
There's 2 or 3 referendums on education will be on the ballot, so I've dug up a couple. I'm glad to share those with you. Down here in front.
What percentage of the vouchers are going to religious-based programs?
I believe it's 75%.
Wow.
Pam?
Do you have any plans or ambitions to get it on the ballot again, like you did in 2017, or?
Well, we tried and we failed. We came up short on getting, after 2022, unfortunately. We don't have any immediate plans. Right now, what we need to do is flip the legislature. Right now, the Democrats are kind of, their hands are behind their back. So we need pro-public education candidates to really support Governor Hobbs and make some headway at all. Like right now, we can't do anything. So that's the best thing we're shooting for.
I'm going to call on Henny. Henny has just wrote a great article.
Yes.
Please ask your questions. Or
Yes, one of the rationales for the ESA is school choice. But my understanding is that parents already can send their children to any district in the state, any charter school in the state. Is that correct?
Correct. As a parent, I have 3 children. I can homeschool. I can elect to do a homeschool co-op. I can take ESA voucher money. I can go to my public school, but I can open enroll in another district. I can go to a charter school. I can also go to a private school. I have so much choice, I have decision fatigue.
Is that the advertisement that says, well, if you have problems with our public schools, that you now have choices?
Well, that is the thing. They're claiming that our public schools are failing.
I do not.
That is not correct. Only 1% of our Arizona public schools are rated lower than a D. The school that my kids go to is an A school. So it's not failing. What they are doing is trying to sow distrust in reality. I often have this conversation where I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about in terms of what is being taught. Like all of this like astronomically CRT stuff, it's not being taught. It's not a thing. And my reality is so different from them. And I say, when was the last time you were in a public school? Have you volunteered? Have you showed up for your parent-teacher conference? Right? I also serve on the board of my PTO. I'm a treasurer. I am an involved parent. I can tell you, trying to get other parents to show up at a PTO meeting, and these are things that what we try to do is plan community events that benefit our school, is like pulling a tooth. It's hard. It's really hard.
Middle row here, anybody else? Then, all right, in the back.
Thank you for that very dismal, depressing. In truth, how do you present this material to a more general audience? You're presenting facts and figures and data to people who appreciate facts and figures and data. How do you talk to people who believe, as you were saying, that students are getting CRT rammed down their throats, if not Marxism, if not they're trying to convert their children to LGBT. You have this mass of very emotional, heavily loaded beliefs, and you're trying to combat that with facts and figures. You need a different approach, I think. I mean, just walking down this hallway here to get to this room, you go by Kingdom Construction, and you have a sign that says, education, not indoctrination. I mean, you're fighting something, you're fighting a good war, but using, I think, different tactics.
Volunteers.
What do you suggest?
Volunteers.
What do you suggest?
I don't know. I have no idea. That's why I look at other people. I only observe and analyze, but I'm not good at generating a policy or a position.
One of my suggestions is, before we have this meeting a year from now, you are all on request to speak. Stacy Stahl Hamilton took a list, a stack of letters she got from people in Sahuarita onto the floor and said, these are my constituents that are not in favor, or that are in favor of public education. They really count when they hear from you. When your senators, I have put their phone numbers from LD19, call them. Just keep the pressure on them. We need to make sure that we flip the legislators to blue, so we have more control, so we don't have to fight this barrage of untruths and untruth facts. You know, it's going to be constantly ongoing to try and focus on these untruth facts on everything that's coming down the pike. So keep a vigil, join the writers group, help us get the word out. When we start doing canvassing in our neighborhood, come and join us. Let's make sure that we get everybody out to vote. I would tell you this, Kirsten Ingles would have won last time if she had gotten 28,000 people more out to vote. There were 40,000 people in CD6 that did not vote for her last time. That's why it's so important that you get your neighbors and your friends out to vote. Because we have the numbers to do so, we just need to make sure it happens. I dug up some things that I thought were, that speak to people when we're talking about problems in schools. Paradise Valley, they're going to have to close down a number of their schools because they just don't have the money that is there any longer.
George, where's Paradise Valley?
It's up in Phoenix.
It's up towards, it's just east of Phoenix. In Mesa, another school district, they're having to lay off their staff and cut teachers. Transportation and flag staff, they're having to not have school buses for 600 of their high school students. And you know what, the rural areas and like in Flagstaff, they need those buses. So how do those 600 high school students get to school? And then we talked about it, cut to mental health programs. It's gotten worse in one of the districts, Darsart, USD, Darsart. They're doing away with all of their social workers. And everybody needs counseling of one time, one form or another in a school.
One of the things you said in the presentation, and I can understand, you said that administration is a very small piece of the pie. My argument to that is, for administration, it's all about optics. You have supervisors, superintendents and assistant superintendents here in the Saurita Unified School District that make, the three of them make in excess of $350,000. And that was 4 years ago. I have no clue what they make now. Do your numbers, do your math on how many new teachers. I know you need those people, but if you say it's $40,000, that's close to 10 more teachers.
Administration relation to teachers is extremely.
So it's I understand what you're saying about the piece of the pie, but it's optics.
I agree with you. It's very difficult when you have a superintendent and assistant superintendents making 6 digits, and
living in
those
the
dollars
foothills.
aren't coming down to the teachers.
Yeah.
It's very frustrating. I have seen, a lot of teachers unions fight for like a 3 or 4% raise. And I've also seen governing board members decline a raise on the administration side. So people are waking up to the fact that, they are making a lot of money, but our teachers need it more. I do have a quick comment about how to talk to these people.
Thank you.
In addition to, he just gave you solid evidence, but when you're talking to people who have been led with mistruth, it's up to you, using your gut feeling, if these people are totally all in on this Fox News barrage of information, or if they just heard hearsay. So you can come at it from an emotional perspective of going, hey, have you spoken to a teacher lately?
Good point.
How are they doing? Do they have any A's in their classroom? Right.
How's their hiccup, right?
How long are your work hours? Have you spoken to anybody in a public school? How are those kids doing? Did they finish their homework? What are they learning? Are they doing a science project? Come at it from that. Open that critical line of critical thinking and get them to think from Fox News to local community. That is the agenda. But again, my reality is very different at the community level than what is being proposed. Open-ended questions, no judgment. That is what I suggest.
Annie?
I agree the optics are not good in terms of administrator salaries versus teachers, and tuition is different. But the reality is, to recruit quality administrators, you've got to have competitive salaries. You're not going to get quality people with lower salaries.
You make the same argument for teachers.
Well, but the teachers,
Make the same argument for teachers.
I understand that, but obviously the legislature.
The teachers don't live in the foothills of Tucson either,
Right.
but the superintendents do.
All right, let's move on. Anything else you'd like to add before we wrap it up?
This has been a great group. I love your questions. I look forward to giving an RTS training to 75% of you. I look forward to that very much.
Please sign up. Let's support Abby. There's a lot of things going on at Save Our Schools and a lot of great programs. So thank you very much.